During a time of rapid civilization advancement, a monster called the Aragami suddenly appeared on Earth. The planet was quickly enveloped in darkness. These creatures devoured everything and varied in size from human height to immeasurable proportions. Human weapons were ineffective against them, and millennia of civilization were consumed in an instant. To survive, humanity established a final defense zone called Fenrir. Based on genetic tests, Fenrir divided people into two categories. One family, failing the tests, was denied entry. At that moment, the daughter found an abandoned baby nearby. As they picked up the baby, the Aragami suddenly attacked Fenrir, forcing the family to flee with the baby. Once safe, the father expressed his inability to abandon life like others. That day, the baby became a part of their family, named after a plant in the sisters' favorite botanical atlas. As time passed, the baby grew into a boy. Their daily supplies diminished, and the mother fell severely ill. The family had to take on the task of finding food. The boy wanted to protect his sister and find medicine for their mother. However, when he first saw an Aragami, he was terrified and fled with his sister. When they encountered Aragami again, the boy's expression turned from fright to determination. Yet courage alone couldn't turn a stick into a blade. At a critical moment, a young man named Rindo saved them. The boy learned about the God Eater for the first time. Rindo was responsible for finding people who could pass the test, although Fenrir's methods were controversial. Rindo didn't say much, but left a compass pointing to Fenrir with the sister before he left. At night, the father faced a tough decision with only one bottle of medicine for two sick family members. Without hesitation, the mother gave her chance for treatment to the boy. They then discovered the boy had passed the test, qualifying to use God Arcs. The mother's death made the boy even stronger. On his 15th birthday, the boy returned home with supplies only to find their home attacked by the Aragami. Gazing at the broken remnants, he fell into despair. Fortunately, his sister appeared then, and they hurried to find their father. Just as they were about to rescue him, the father saw the Aragami approaching and ordered them to leave. The boy witnessed his father's death. Although they escaped, the sister was injured by the Aragami. In the days that followed, they relied on the compass to head towards Fenrir. Eventually, the sister's injuries became too severe for her to continue. She revealed to the boy that he was an abandoned baby they had found, but 15 years had made them a family. Fearing the boy would risk his life to save hers, the sister committed in front of him. Her final wish for him was, "You must be the continuation of my life." At the moment of her death, she envisioned a peaceful place by the river with her favorite lotus plants, which inspired the name Utsugi Renka. Now, the boy once again endured the pain of the God Arcs, steadfastly honoring his family's last wishes. Even if he could not overturn the world before his life ended, he was determined to find someone to continue the legacy. Who could have imagined that 50 years later, creatures called Aragami would have wiped out half of the world's population? When Aragami first appeared, humans tried to resist, but all weapons proved ineffective. At this time, the biotech company Fenrir became humanity's last line of defense. They utilized Aragami cells to develop a biological weapon called God Arcs and formed a unit of suitable humans known as the God Eater Squad. Only then did humanity gain the power to counter the Aragami. Renka, identified as a new type of adapter, was acutely aware of the threat Aragami posed to the world. Despite the intense pain of having cells implanted for transformation, Renka's sole conviction was to defeat the Aragami. Just after his transformation, Renka heard the command center ordering the Far East's second squad to combat Aragami appearing outside the city walls. As Renka prepared to join the battle, his instructor pulled him back. Facing the two novices, the instructor ordered them to prepare for a simulated battle. In the simulation, Renka, as a new adapter, exceeded the instructor's expectations with his combat abilities. However, Renka's overly passionate nature could easily lead to his death in real combat. The instructor hoped Renka would understand that what is needed on the battlefield is absolute calm. After a day of training, Renka, eager to see action, continued with additional simulation drills. His peer, Kota, was impressed by this dedication. While Renka was engaged in another simulation, the director came for an inspection. The instructor first praised Renka for his agility and impressive combat skills, then pointed out his critical flaw, his reckless behavior during rescue missions, which could lead to an early death. After the training, Kota, admiring Renka, took him to the equipment department to show him his weapon ahead of schedule. The person in charge hoped Renka would make good use of this God Arc. At that moment, a dispatcher bumped into Renka in a rush and then headed to the control room. Her panic was due to the Aragami launching a surprise attack during a vulnerable moment at the base. Renka, who had followed her, witnessed this scene. Recalling the empty operations room, Renka realized there was no one else available. Seeing the destruction caused by the Aragami on the screens, and remembering his own painful experiences, Renka decided to disregard the instructor's orders and act on his own. By the time the instructor was ready to stop him, it was already too late. When Aragami cells merge with human cells, physical strength and recovery vastly improve. After utilizing his power, Renka, rushing to the rescue, generated a sonic boom with his speed and could easily crush the ground and leap over solid walls. Essentially, his physical capabilities were perfectly enhanced. Arriving at the battlefield and seeing the human remains scattered around, Renka realized this was different from a simulation. Just then, he was drawn to the sound of a god-eater fighting, but he was quickly ambushed by an Aragami. Seeing his comrade flung away, Renka, holding his god arc, attempted a rescue. However, as the instructor had warned, the impulsive Renka on the battlefield was the most vulnerable. Now weaponless and unsure how to proceed, Renka's resolve to fight back was ignited by his comrade's order to flee. Even with just a stick from the ground, Renka was determined to fight back on this bloody battlefield. As Renka reached for a god arc on the ground, an Aragami nearly killed him. But suddenly a person appeared in the sky and instantly killed the Aragami. A young girl used the recoil of her gun to eliminate Aragami in midair, while a man with a giant sword easily slew another. From their light-hearted banter, Renka learned that his rescuers were the elite Far East's first squad. The team consisted of Captain Rindo and members Soma and Sakuya. Since Rindo became captain, the first squad had not suffered any fatalities. The girl's scream caught Renka's attention. Unlike the failed simulation, Renka, driven by the need to save the hostage, unexpectedly activated the transformation system of the new god arcs, shifting from sword to cannon form. The new weapon form surprised the team members, and Renka's actions were noticed by the higher-ups. However, just 3 seconds into his glory, Renka's weapon malfunctioned. It turned out that the success was just a fluke. Realizing the situation, a team member shot to save Renka. Then, amid a roar, a new threat emerged. The boss-level Aragami Vajra appeared on the battlefield. As Rindo was assigning tasks, Renka called out to him from behind, asking to assist. Initially reluctant, Rindo agreed due to a shortage of personnel and instructed Sakuya to quickly teach Renka how to use the god arcs. During this training, Sakuya also taught Renka to trust his teammates. The battle commenced, with Sakuya and Renka tasked with clearing smaller monsters from a distance. Once Renka mastered the god arcs, the Aragami no longer posed a threat. After gaining familiarity, the two began to attack the boss together. Sakuya's flash grenade temporarily blinded the boss. However, inexperienced Renka attempted to engage the enemy up close. At the critical moment, Vajra unleashed its ultimate skill, lightning, striking Renka down, rendering him immobile on the ground. Rindo rushed to his rescue, and as Renka slipped into unconsciousness, he only remembered being protected by the captain. When Renka awoke again, he found himself in a cell. The instructor told him that he was to be judged by a committee for violating orders, while the minister was appealing to the committee on his behalf. Unexpectedly, a new type of God Arcs adapter was sent to support the Far East headquarters. At the same time, Captain Rindo located Renka and shared the cost of their battle victory. To protect future adapters, Rindo disregarded Soma's advice and chose to fight alongside Renka. Soon, they were out of ammunition and forced to retreat, facing near annihilation. At that critical moment, the Far East Second Squad came to their rescue. With their overwhelming firepower, they finally defeated the dreadful Vajra. However, as dawn broke and everyone began to clear the battlefield, an Aragami charged at Renka in its dying moments. But a comrade, whose life Renka had once saved, sacrificed himself to save Renka's life. Renka, newly aware of the cruelty of war, deeply regretted his actions. Captain Rindo, unwilling to see him in this state, returned the compass the instructor had given Renka. The significance of this compass would be revealed at the end. Meanwhile, the minister was discussing with the instructor how to avoid punishing Renka as it related to an important future project, the SHIELD plan. At the Far East base, a memorial was held for a fallen comrade. After it ended, Rindo learned from others that Renka, even after losing his weapon, had tried to save a comrade with a stick. This reminded Rindo of a past fool. Soon, the opportunity the minister needed arose. A new adapter en route to the Far East headquarters was attacked by Aragami. Faced with numerous enemies, they had to call for help from the headquarters. The instructor wanted to send Rindo and others, but Rindo, using Soma's absence as a reason, requested Renka to be his assistant. After getting the minister's approval, the instructor came to Renka's cell and gave him two choices: wait for the committee's judgment or come out and prove himself in battle. Renka agreed to the three conditions set by the captain: not to die, to escape if close to death, and to hide and seek an opportunity to defeat the enemy. As he was heading to the rescue in a helicopter, he saw that the fighter jets escorting them were destroyed by Aragami. During the flight, a cute-looking girl ordered the helicopter to open its doors. Her name was Elisa, and she was another new type of adapter. During the battle, when asked if it is acceptable to abandon the wounded, Elisa gave her answer. When the rescue team finally arrived, Renka witnessed gunfire among the Aragami. The girl was fighting alone amidst them. When their eyes met, Renka was truly shocked. Rindo contacted Elisa, hoping she would leave with them. But surprisingly, she replied that she did not need rescue. Even surrounded by Aragami, Elisa confidently turned off the communicator and faced the enemy alone, her pride shattering Rindo's rescue plan. Although she claimed no need for rescue, Renka decided to provide cover, a move that Rindo approved. Elisa did not comment much on this action. From her skilled switching between combat modes, Rindo knew this new adapter was extraordinary. As the battle wore on, they realized they were running out of ammunition. However, Elisa faced no such issues. The new god arcs could transform into devouring mode to consume Aragami and replenish ammunition through conversion. But the situation escalated when an evolved Aragami, a leader among its kind, appeared, unifying the group. After a moment's thought, Rindo decided to have Sakuya provide cover while he and Renka went to retrieve Elisa. When Rindo reached the plane, Elisa hurried to join him. When Rindo expressed his intent to take her away, Elisa chose to return inside the plane. Renka followed her into the cabin, only to be ambushed by Elisa. After a brief exchange, Renka was knocked down by Elisa. When the cabin door opened, Renka, intending to argue, saw many wounded and asked why their condition had not been reported. The painful answer he received was that the wounded were not on the rescue list. After reporting the situation of the wounded to Rindo, Renka decided to save everyone with Elisa, despite the recklessness of the decision. Rindo and the others did not object. Instead, they decided to fully cooperate. Rindo set up a battle plan, and at that moment, their goal was unified. The four of them would take down all the Aragami. Battle is always the fastest way to mature. Renka, initially a novice, quickly improved after learning from Elisa's handling of the new god arcs, impressing even the usually proud Elisa. By the time the sunset dyed half the sky red, the battle was declared over. They had completed a nearly impossible mission. Battle is always unpredictable. At this moment, a rescue team was targeted by an Aragami. Rindo used the helicopter as bait to evade the Aragami's pursuit. As the helicopter's autopilot was activated, everyone witnessed a memorable sight among the clouds. A huge Aragami appeared. Without the helicopter as bait, they would have been easy prey for the Aragami. After successfully returning to headquarters, the director announced the decision to withhold punishment for Renka. They were then taken by their instructor to Far East Squad 1. From that day, the three of them officially served under Rindo. After introductions, the squad's members increased to 6. After the induction ceremony, Kota took Renka to his home. At the same time, Elisa confided to her doctor that she and Renka were similar, but the doctor advised her not to be too tense and to learn to relax appropriately. When Renka arrived at Kota's home, he found it protected by walls, with rows of simple houses and food distributed per capita. For Renka, who had lived outside the walls, this place was paradise. Upon returning home, Kota told his mother about becoming a god-eater, which brought not pride but deep concern from her. After chatting briefly with his mother, Kota left home with Renka, understanding the dangers of being a god-eater. After seeing the destruction caused by an Aragami invasion days earlier, Kota hoped they could quickly complete the Aegis project. Following Kota's lead, Renka looked towards the distant empty island, and learned it was the site of the Aegis Project, a place meant to sustain all of humanity. Their mission was to kill Aragami and use their cores to gradually build everything. Incompetent teammates are scarier than enemies. Those who agree, raise your hands. In their first mission, Renka and 2 others aimed to collect 6 Gaboro Aragami cores. Rindo organized them into pairs, with Renka guided by Sakuya. They performed a feint attack to easily devour the Aragami's core, completing their first hunt smoothly. In contrast, Rindo's team with Elisa faced challenges as she completely disregarded the team leader's orders, relying solely on her strength to directly devour the core. Rindo felt helpless with this uncooperative team member. The most unfortunate team was the one with Kota led by Soma, who faced numerous problems and lacked vigilance, getting extremely nervous when encountering the enemy. Fortunately, Soma managed to throw a flash grenade to save Kota. This hunting mission revealed all the novices' issues. Renka was overly enthusiastic in combat, wanting to attack regardless of the target. Elisa was too arrogant, lacking any team spirit and only focusing on her assigned tasks. And Kota was the only normal one, albeit weak. On their return journey, they encountered refugees. Faced with this situation, Rindo and the others could not ignore them. On the bus, Renka handed a bottle of water to a little girl, understanding the hardships of life outside the walls. However, when the girl looked at him with gratitude, Renka felt ashamed and unable to meet her eyes, thinking he had not done enough. After safely delivering the refugees to headquarters, Renka heard an argument as he was leaving. Only those who passed tests and met the requirements for God Arcs could settle there. Despite Renka's efforts to advocate for them, he understood the base could not bear the burden due to resource scarcity in the face of harsh war conditions. Renka could only watch helplessly as the door of hope closed in front of the little girl. Fighting Aragami as fiercely as yesterday could only complete 0.01% of the Aegis project. This revelation left Renka with an incredulous expression. Soon, a new mission arrived. The instructor initially hoped to target 2 large types, but in the absence of Rindo and Soma, the deputy leader Sakuya opted for 6 smaller ones. After the instructor left, Renka, eager to advance the Aegis project, persuaded Sakuya to instead target the larger types, with Kota supporting his decision. Sakuya reminded them that their target, Vajra, had previously knocked out Renka with an electric shock. She advised them to act within their limits. Surprisingly, Elisa also supported Renka's suggestion. Seeing the team's enthusiasm, Sakuya agreed to the mission but insisted they follow orders. Under Deputy Leader Sakuya's tactical command, the 2 new adapters coordinated smoothly, quickly severely wounding a Vajra. However, the appearance of another Vajra disrupted their attack. Sakuya then asked Kota to assist in the fight. Despite his trembling, Sakuya patiently explained that the God Arcs he held had once belonged to the instructor, boosting his confidence. Relieved of his mental burden, Kota transformed. But as they tracked the Vajra, it hid inside a building. Approaching, they heard human screams. Realizing they had entered the Vajra's lair, Renka and his team were surrounded by 3 Vajras. Suddenly, a black Vajra appeared and effortlessly killed the 3 others. Everyone was shocked beyond words, as this overturned their previous understanding. Elisa recognized it as Heavenly Father and was hit by painful memories. She charged out alone. Sakuya could only ask Renka to bring her back for retreat. They could not handle a monster that easily killed 3 Vajras. Heavenly Father launched a lightning attack, disabling Sakuya and Kota. As it began slaughtering humans, Renka was filled with rage. Elisa's attacks were easily dodged by Heavenly Father, who treated her like a toy. After knocking Elisa unconscious, it turned its attention to the fleeing humans. An angry Renka struck with full force, but it was in vain. The adversary severely injured Renka with ease. As Heavenly Father moved to harm more humans, Renka, ignoring his wounds, rushed to intervene, but was mocked. Heavenly Father easily broke Renka's God Arcs, crushing his hope. Renka could only watch helplessly as humans were slaughtered. Before falling unconscious, Elisa used her cannon to save Renka. Sakuya, back in action, tried to distract Heavenly Father to let Renka rescue Elisa. The cunning Heavenly Father ignored Sakuya and chased after Renka. Desperate, Renka showed despair, realizing Heavenly Father was too clever. He could only kneel and pray for divine protection. If a person's heart is weak, even holding God Arcs, They are merely scrap metal. Elisa awoke from a nightmare in a room and realized Renka had saved her. But the despair-inducing Vajra was missing. She found only one pill left to control her emotions, and her god arcs were also missing. As Elisa set out to search for them, she noticed Renka bleeding heavily from his abdomen, yet he had used his tourniquet on her. Touched by his gesture, she decided to stay and care for him. When she saw Renka's god arcs in the corner and they did not respond to her touch, she looked surprised. Soon, without medication to suppress her emotions, childhood memories began to surface. Elisa had adoring parents, and her favorite game was hide and seek. During an Aragami attack, she saw her parents killed while hiding in a cabinet. Since then, the Vajra known as Heavenly Father has haunted her nightmares. When Aragami invaded again, Renka saved her at a critical moment. Seeing Elisa's fear, Renka decisively fled with her. At a temporary shelter, Elisa informed Renka that his god arcs were now dead, merely metal. To survive until rescue, they needed to find Elisa's god arcs. Inside the Vajra's habitat, the two began a race against time. While dodging Vajra, they searched for the god arcs along the river. Fortunately, Elisa found the stuck god arcs. Just as they rejoiced, Aragami discovered them. Even the smaller, easily defeated types scared Elisa. As more Aragami gathered, they surrounded her. Remembering the fear under Heavenly Father's control, she dropped her god arcs and became a helpless girl. Renka arrived soon after and could only protect her with his broken weapon. The dead god arcs left Renka hopeless. Just as they faced certain death, a flare exploded in the air and Captain Rindo appeared before them. "Haven't you stopped praying to the gods?" was Rindo's first question to Renka after the rescue. Quickly, Rindo contacted headquarters. Since they were in the Vajra's habitat, he planned to take them back to headquarters via a secret route. Renka was surprised to see familiar trees in this apocalyptic world, and Rindo stopped him from touching the trees. Looking down from the mountain, there was a peaceful village. Renka saw a girl expelled by headquarters. Full of questions, they arrived at the village. Renka also saw food being cultivated. The girl revealed that Captain Rindo had brought her here. Facing Renka's questions, Rindo revealed the truth. He had arranged for those rejected by headquarters to live here and came to help periodically. After hearing about recent Aragami disturbances, Rindo took Renka to the mountain. Seeing trees with Aragami traits that could eliminate smaller types, Renka understood why Rindo had cautioned him against touching them. Rindo had infused the trees with cells, turning them into entities similar to god arcs to serve as a future resource. He hoped to train Renka to stand on his own. While they were discussing this, a Vajra approached the area and the village sent out a distress signal. Rindo commanded Renka to rescue the village, using everything at his disposal to protect them. When Renka returned to the village to confront the Aragami, he could not find Elisa, who had hidden in a cabinet in her panic. Facing an Aragami he couldn't defeat alone, Renka recalled Rindo's words and had a bold idea. He used grenades obtained from the villagers to temporarily blind the Aragami. While they were hidden, Renka and the villagers devised a plan. He would act as bait while the villagers activated the dam. The girl went to retrieve injectors he had used on the trees. With an arrow loaded, Renka hit the Aragami, causing it to stagger backward. Knowing this was effective, he instructed the girl to hide and continued shooting, aiming to drive the Aragami into the dam. However, the creature was not fooled, and, after several attacks, it learned to dodge the injectors. At that moment, Renka realized there was only one injector left on the ground. Recalling Rindo's words to trust in the god arcs, Renka decided to take a risk. He injected the last vial into his own god arcs, reforging the broken blade. The power of the Aragami manifested once again in Renka's god arcs, restoring his confidence. The god arcs merged with his body cells, and he pushed the Aragami into the water. As the dam activated, the lake water swept the Aragami away. Renka's plan was a success. Soon after, headquarters retrieved everyone. Elisa was to undergo psychological therapy. The extent of damage to Renka's god arcs left the equipment department astonished. The minister, reviewing the report submitted by the instructor, felt helpless. However, this was just the beginning. According to the doctor's investigations, including Heavenly Father, large species were converging towards the Far East. The minister hoped the doctor would quickly find a solution. Before Elisa was healed, they needed to repair Renka's god arcs. When Renka learned he couldn't join the battle, he rushed to the equipment department and saw the doctor and Lika discussing the god arcs. Through Lika's introduction, Renka met the father of the god arcs. The instruments suggested the God Arcs could be repaired, but there was a significant issue. The God Arcs used origami cells, and because they were broken, the cell's integrity was compromised. It was uncertain how much compatibility remained between him and his core as a God Eater, linked through the bracelet. They needed Renka to provide new body data. The doctor discovered Renka's regenerative capabilities exceeded all other God Eaters, and the calculated compatibility shocked the doctor. At the same time, Rindo received a solo mission. Before leaving, he approached Vice Captain Sakuya and told her to consult Renka if any issues arose. Then he departed. Sakuya was left feeling puzzled. As time passed, Renka, who was free, happened to see the squad undertaking a joint mission. Sakuya couldn't understand Rindo's trust in Renka, but with the mission ongoing, she planned to have a detailed discussion with Renka once he returned. Meanwhile, the instructor commanding the operation hadn't expected Renka to be there. She instructed Renka to remain quiet and began directing the battle. They were in an old circular stadium. The instructor's tactic for Sakuya was simple: to eliminate the origami in stages, gradually clearing the area. The strategy was highly successful, facing only a few origami at a time. Just as Soma killed an origami, the ground collapsed, and everyone fell into an underground area, now surrounded by origami. Facing a flawed command from the instructor, Renka openly objected. Sakuya heard his voice. As the instructor tried to assert his authority, Renka claimed to have a perfect plan. Hearing Renka's confident voice reminded Sakuya of something Rindo had said, leading her to suggest that the instructor consider Renka's ideas. Soon, the team confirmed that things were as Renka had described. The instructor quickly handed over command to Renka. Based on radar feedback, Renka issued an advance command. They quickly found an exit by following the light. However, Renka showed even greater resolve by ordering the team to split in two, aiming to completely eliminate the origami on sight. As the precise deployment began, everyone took their positions for the ambush. Once the origami fully entered the trap, Renka gave the counterattack command, and the perfect encirclement battle was successfully executed. Every team member who narrowly escaped death acknowledged Renka. As Sakuya was about to leave, she noticed a compass that had fallen from Renka. Upon inquiry, she learned it was a keepsake from someone he knew, helping her finally understand Rindo's words. In the meeting room, after noting an increase in origami, the minister decided to launch the Meteor Plan. This involved drawing origami of the same attribute into an ambush circle using a device, then concentrating firepower to eradicate them, accelerating the completion of the Shield Plan. From the doctor, it was learned that due to an excessively high compatibility, Renka had only a few years left to live. Also, Alisa, desperate to overcome her fears, faced an uncertain future in the Meteor Plan. She was a great mother. When origami began ravaging Earth, 3 scientists discovered that corporate executives had used their immature projects for a special drug, leading to the emergence of origami. To rectify this mistake, they decided to research bioweapons to combat origami. During her pregnancy, one scientist decided to use her own child for a hybrid experiment with origami. The experiment was successful, but resulted in her sacrifice. Since then, the child was seen as a harbinger of bad luck. His name was Soma. This was the information about Soma that Renka, newly appointed as the team leader, learned. Uncertain of what to do, Rindo approached him. Rindo noticed Renka's confusion and simply advised not to let Soma act alone. Soon, the Meteor Plan was initiated. Renka did not expect that the crew flying with him would strongly dislike Soma, rumored to be a symbol of death. Shortly after work began, Renka received news of an origami appearance. However, he soon witnessed Soma's power. With just one strike, Soma completely eradicated the raging origami, seemingly indifferent to his achievement. Shortly after, the device began operating as planned. As they were leaving, Soma spotted an origami that appeared out of nowhere. This sudden emergence reminded Renka of what the instructor had once asked him. "Have you ever seen the birth of an origami?" Renka then realized that origami couldn't be completely eradicated. Although the plan's device was effective against origami, it overlooked their power to push the device away. Just as the plan was about to fail, Soma jumped out of the plane alone to stop the origami. However, even the strongest individual cannot overcome a large group, especially since Soma never really wanted to live, having grown up under constant criticism. This act of self-sacrifice helped Renka understand Rindo's words. Renka activated the device, attracting all the Aragami to it. His only idea was to use the unrepaired God Arcs as shields to help Soma hold off the monsters, allowing him to eliminate the Aragami swiftly. Renka wanted Soma to understand that his mother's actions were meant to make him a continuation of life. After the smoke cleared, the God Arcs allowed Renka to survive. Soma wanted to know why Renka did this, and the answer he received was that Renka also had someone for whom he wanted to prolong life. This is a war we cannot afford to lose. Consequently, God Eaters from all around the world were mobilized to assist the Far East in completing the Meteor Plan. Due to the operation being moved up, Renka, who had repaired the God Arcs, could only meet with headquarters the following day. However, Rindo had good news. Elisa had overcome her fear and was ready to officially join the battle. Yet, the current Elisa seemed unfamiliar to everyone. Renka couldn't see any emotion in her eyes. Soon, the instructor began tactical deployment, appointing Rindo as the commander of the entire war. But Rindo recommended Renka, who then became the leader of Team A. As the sun rose, the troops commenced the established battle plan. Countless Aragami were drawn to the device. Renka confirmed the status of all teams from the screen. After receiving confirmation from the leader of Team 5, the first phase of the Meteor Plan officially began. Numerous shells hit the ground, indiscriminately covering the Aragami with fire. After the smoke cleared, and it was confirmed that most Aragami were dead, the instructor ordered the second phase to start. All God Eaters jumped from the plane, and everyone injected serum into their God Arcs. Watching a familiar scene unfold, the instructor told Renka that his recklessness had opened new avenues for research, allowing them to capture Aragami cores more quickly. However, everything changed when the minister pressed a button. The Vajra, previously attracted by the device, now turned and headed northwest. Seeing this strange behavior, everyone hurriedly reported to the instructor. Hearing northwest, Renka had someone open the map and contacted Rindo, remembering that direction led to the dam. After hearing from the doctor that the device was fine, Rindo and the instructor made up an excuse. He wanted to check the situation at the dam. Shortly thereafter, Captain Rindo lost contact as numerous Vajras began moving towards his location. Meanwhile, the first squad, which intended to rescue him, was surrounded by Aragami. Upon learning that the squad could not provide assistance, the instructor, looking at the map, decided to have Renka, who was closest, go to support. However, both Rindo, dealing with the Vajra, and Renka, heading for the rescue, were unaware that the sinister Heavenly Father was also stirring in the shadows. Who can tell me which anime this familiar scene is from? When Renka's God Arcs unleashed a burst of energy, all the Vajras blocking Rindo turned to ash. Rindo was astounded by the size of Renka's massive God Arcs. After running out of ammo, the cannon transformed into a giant sword, and Renka activated harvest mode. Nevertheless, the number of Vajras did not decrease. The doctor speculated, based on the gathering of Vajras, that a mole had placed a decoy device. While the instructor searched for clues, Renka and his team faced significant trouble. The previously ferocious Vajras suddenly became docile, parting to reveal a path. A mutated, dark purple Vajra appeared before them. Although it was different from other Vajras, the flash grenade that usually worked brilliantly was a joke in front of Heavenly Father. It not only shielded itself with its wings from the light, but also took the opportunity to attack up close. However, Heavenly Father did not anticipate how tough the duo would be. Its techniques were ineffective, and it was hit instead. It then retreated into the forest, using its tail to infect the trees, a trick not missed by Rindo, who warned Renka to dodge. Watching the attacking trees, Rindo's expression darkened, realizing that their opponent now possessed human intelligence. As the branches trapped them, Heavenly Father lunged for a fatal strike. Fortunately, the first squad's cover prevented it from succeeding. Now, the battle had turned into 6 against 1. Meanwhile, the instructor found clues pointing to the insider, Elisa's chief physician. But when they arrived at the location, the doctor had already fled. However, the hypnosis video left on the computer was shocking. as it had turned Elisa's hatred for Heavenly Father against Captain Rindo. Just as the doctor controlled Elisa with the communicator, she thankfully remembered Rindo's words. At the final critical moment, she only fired wildly. However, this opportunity was seized by Heavenly Father, who then used a skill to completely control the team. At that moment, Renka's encouraging words reignited Elisa's fighting spirit. But the people just rescued discovered thick smoke rising in the distance. Renka realized the smoke was coming from the direction of the dam. To save more humans, Renka ordered the entire team to head for the rescue, leaving only Rindo to face Heavenly Father. Although there was much they wanted to say in farewell, they did not linger. In the end, Rindo simply told Renka, "You must be the compass that guides them when they are lost. This is a race against time." Renka must quickly locate the equipment, eliminate the attracted Aragami, and then lead the team to rescue Rindo, who is no match for Heavenly Father. At this moment, Rindo pretends to relax but actually sets a trap to ensnare Heavenly Father. His all-out attack only provokes Heavenly Father's ridicule. Then Rindo activates the God Ark's rotation, finally inflicting a wound on Heavenly Father. However, fate is cruel. Before Renka and his team can complete the dam rescue, a dark figure appears before them, and Rindo disappears. Only the God Arks left on Heavenly Father prove they fought. Bad news follows. The equipment of the remaining 4 squads malfunctions, causing the instructor to curse their deceit. Sakuya, holding the parts of Rindo's God Arks, plunges everyone into sorrow. Amidst Renka's confusion, a girl's distant cry awakens him. Her plea for help and Rindo's guidance calm Renka. If he is lost, how can he lead everyone out of this predicament? He must reorganize the team to defeat Heavenly Father. Seeing his squad's low morale, Renka uses the girl as an example to show that Rindo always cared for the humans expelled by Fenrir. They must defeat Heavenly Father and reclaim their only land for survival. When Renka speaks with Rindo's same tone, the team feels as if Rindo is right there with them. The battle recommences. Sakuya and Kota handle the lesser creatures, while Elisa and Renka slow Heavenly Father's pace. Renka's God Arks begin to fall apart during the fight, yet their power increases. Soma dives into the lake to destroy the guiding device, causing the attracted Vajra to retreat. Now, the Far East First Squad gathers, aiming to end Heavenly Father's life. The seasoned Far East First Squad couldn't believe their well-coordinated, high-frequency attacks failed to injure Heavenly Father, who even mocked them with a smirk. Indeed, they were being mocked by a Vajra. An irate Soma advanced with his blade, but as he nearly struck Heavenly Father's wing, the creature dodged. Success lies in the details, and Renka noticed something off about Heavenly Father. Observing closely, he spotted a small wound on its wing. Once the target was clear, Renka charged forward. Sakuya had Kota prepare his homemade ammunition for cover, as they had only one chance. Elisa and Soma distracted Heavenly Father with rapid attacks, giving it no time to think. 2 beams of light merged into one, forming a defensive array over Heavenly Father's head, absorbing the electricity from its body. Seizing the moment, Renka aimed for the gap, risking his arm, now corroded by Aragami cells, and successfully severed the antenna. This move triggered Heavenly Father's rampage, breaking free from its restraints and overwhelming the squad's defenses. Heavenly Father then countered Renka's powerful technique. With the squad severely injured, still, one person refused to give up. Renka had one last move, an unfinished God Ark skill called Devour. Understanding the situation, his teammates had one thought: to buy Renka just one more second. Like crushing ants, Heavenly Father easily incapacitated them. But just as it was about to mock their foolishness, these ants burst out laughing. Heavenly Father realized too late that one person was missing. In exchange for his body being corroded, Renka's blade became incredibly sharp. Once impenetrable, Heavenly Father's body was easily sliced through. Renka showed him what a God-Eater truly is. In an instant, Heavenly Father was dismembered. Despite a desperate counterattack as it neared death, a blade flew through the thick fog. Just after Heavenly Father shattered it, Renka appeared in midair, plunging his God Arks into Heavenly Father's core. Renka and his team's desperate victory only resulted in the defeat of an elite monster. At this time, the scientist who had originally studied Aragami came to the minister's office. As one of the 3 scientists, his position had drastically changed after the minister's wife passed away. The minister confessed to eliminating Rindo. who had discovered that the SHIELD plan was a hoax. His real plan was to launch a rocket carrying selected humans into space to seek refuge until the Aragami eventually died out. They would then return to Earth to rebuild human civilization. For this, he would awaken the strongest Aragami. Unlike the minister's pessimistic view, the scientist believed that Aragami could evolve and develop intelligence, potentially coexisting with humans in the future. So the question remains, will humans become divine as the minister suggests? Or will gods become human as the scientist proposes? Only time will tell. Back at headquarters, the Far East squad remains the same.
命令は3つだ。死ぬな。死にそうになったら逃げろ。そんで隠れろ。覆せ。
As for Rindo's fate, the familiar combat boots seen at the end of the anime and the still active god arcs in the operation room hint at everything.